finer brush to deal with a finer area. And this magnificent looking stick is my Marwell stick, which helps me steady my hand when I'm doing fine work. Used a little bit of Mars orange, which is a nice colour, and a little bit of Payne's grey. I'll just leave a little dot of white there for the reflection for the minute. And keep this nice and thin so we can do a fine line. I think just roughly like that. Now I'm going to go to a brush called a rigger, which will give us a long, thin, fine line. Great brush. And it's called a rigger because marine artists use this for the rigging of ships. Yeah, not the real, you know, paintings of rigging, that is not real rigging. And I'll mix in Payne's grey with burnt umber. He's got kind of a dark under eyelid, if such a thing. Whatever it is, it's dark. And we've got some shading that's coming in from the right hand side of the canvas, which we want to put in here as well. Okay, trying not to obliterate the wrinkles in the same time. A little bit of itsy shadow above the eyelid there. Okay, back to a bigger brush now while we... I don't know what on earth this is under his chin here, but I'm a bit carried away with my colour scheme. Put some nice burnt umber and Payne's grey again. Okay. Kind of a shadow going across there. Shadow going here. Okay, what's that? Should be a shadow here somewhere. Okay, let's keep the old purple lake and a bit of the Alarizian crimson in here. Oops, not quite that much. Not that much. Let's see if we can risk it with a bit of cerulean blue. Back to the finer brush again. We'll put in a bit of shade up on the area. Just define it a little bit. A little bit more purple lake. In fact, I'm about as far away from the true colours as you could possibly want to be, but there you go, we can change that. Just gently put that in there. And the reason that this was pre-drawn on is to save a lot of time at a later stage, because it's better to go wrong with your base drawing than it is with your painting. And it was something that took me many years to, well, I say many, number of years to discover that if I drew it on first, it would make life a lot easier. I remember painting a picture of an elephant. I spent hours painting his head, making it exactly right, only to discover I didn't have any room for his legs. Bit of a blow. Yes, very colourful. Oops. Knocking his easel over. Right, let's just. Now I'm going to use another brush here to start put darks on, because what I'm doing is with the same brush I'm going from white, light colours, and then back to dark, and it means I've got to keep constantly taking off colours off my brush. So we're going to have two brushes, one with dark on, one with light on. It's a simple concept. Whack his ear in there. Dumpty dumpty dum. So if you don't have his ears, he won't be able to hear anything. Ha. Just mixed a little bit of Payne's grey with burnt umber. Then we're going to go a little bit lighter at the top here, where it bends over and catches the sun. I think we can just use the old rigger to fine tune that. Okay, I mean, he's got some hairs on the end of his ear, but we'll worry about that later because he can't really put them in without having to change it later. Okay, back to kind of a medium tone for the bit of Purple Lake, burnt umber again. And I found Purple Lake and burnt umber, two colours that have worked well together. Constantly switching and fine tuning as we go along. And then we're going to put a few of these lines in, so we'll put these in first so we don't wash them off. Wash off the pencil marks when we put the oil in. Use the rigger again, get a long fine line. And a hefty wrinkle around the back here. Back to the Payne's grey, cerulean blue, burnt umber again. Sorry to be so boring with the colours, but unfortunately that's what's actually on there. We do paint up to these lines so we don't obliterate them. We're going to try a bit, lighten this up with titanium white for the front where the sun's coming from. Well, the multicoloured rhinoceros at the moment, but as I say, it doesn't matter really because it's all going to be over painted later. Just a simple point here. You can see I'm switching backwards and forwards from brushes, and the brushes are really important. You need a bigger brush for a big area and a little brush for the smaller areas, and that may sound very obvious, but quite often on workshops and so on, I come across people with completely the wrong brush for what they're doing, and it's important to have the right brush. Paint a little bit more cerulean blue in there, just to make them colours gel together a little bit better. We'll just brush this over without entirely obliterating the lines. Okay, I'm going to switch to the other side of my painting because I'm getting bored with this bit. And block in some of the larger areas, and I'll use a larger brush for doing that because it's quicker. So let's go up to the top here, and the sun shines, catches the top of Kiri's hump. Right, we're going to continue to paint the front part of Kiri's nose, and then we're going to move on to the horn. I'm just going to put in some of the wrinkles so we don't over the pencil lines, so we don't rub them out when we block in our colours. And they don't have to be exact, just as long as they kind of follow the contours of the body. You can see I'm painting very for these fine lines with a very liquidy mix, so it goes on nice and smoothly. Okay, back to blocking in colour. Very exciting. Now we're getting nearer the front and the light is coming across from there, so this is a little bit lighter. But on the muzzle, the warm colours start coming in, which is again the burnt umber, perhaps a little touch of yellow ochre. Okay, just going to a finer brush so we can get around the edges a little bit more accurately. Now, some of the difficulty here is where we're trying to paint between the wrinkles and blend our shadows as well. It can be a little bit tricky, and that's where we need a little bit more finer brush as we than the short flat hog that we were using. Just reintroduce these some of these wrinkles just so we get an idea. We can put them in a bit more detail later on. Okay, as I say, we're just putting in some of the main wrinkles here, nothing too elaborate, just for kind of future reference. Okay, all right, let's move up to the horn and move our photograph just off so we can just get the horn in. Going for a nice dark burnt umber and Payne's grey. Slap it all in. And the rhino's horn is made of, well, you probably already know this, but it's made of hair, and it's this matted together very closely, and is the equivalent of our, I guess, our nails. It's purple acorn, Alarizian crimson, and a bit of white at the top here. So you just bring that down to the bottom there. It's getting lighter all the time as we go nearer the base. And I've no idea what Kiri's been doing with her nose here, but about 15 different colours in the end bit. Okay, just get a little bit of texture there. Right, back to the purple lake and the titanium white. So we'll get that shadow going across. Put in some much lighter white here. I'll just tartan this up a little bit with some finer brush. Okay, we kind of blocked in all the colours now for the rhino, and we're going to have a look at the background. If we go with the background that we've got, it's going to be a very cold looking painting, so I'm going to put in a warm orangey type background, and it's not something I could define before I put it on, but I'm just going to whack some colours on and mix them on the canvas and see where we come out. Get a nice big brush here just to loosen this off. We're taking number 16 here just to soften this up, and it aids the drying of the picture. And that's our first stage of the painting completed. Now I'm going to go away, let this dry, and then we're going to come back to it and finish it off. I'd like to introduce you to Mark Edgley. Mark is the Chief Executive Officer and Director of Marwell Zoological Park. Mark, could you tell us a little about Marwell?
Well, Marwell's a very modern zoo. It's just over 30 years old, and we specialise in African species. Got an awful lot of antelope and giraffe and the animals of Africa here. We work both within the UK with our zoo. More importantly, we do an awful lot of work overseas now, mainly in Africa and one or two other countries. So in some instances we're supplying staff, in other instances we supply money, and the money comes from the gate emissions that our visitors bring us. We need to educate people about what's going on in the wild with these animals, and they need to be close and study them. You can't just watch them on television, you actually need to see them up close, you need to smell them, you need to hear them, and you can do all those sort of things in a zoo, and it's up to us then to educate people what these animals' needs are, and to use those animals as ambassador species to raise the funds that we need for the work in these countries, because these countries, the countries that we're working in, just can't afford to do this work on their own. So whatever we do, we have to fund from our resources and the resources of other charities that work with us.
Thank you very much, Mark. That's much appreciated.
Now available to buy. Try these techniques at home whenever you wish. The extended DVD of today's workshop is now available from the Painting and Drawing channel. For further information and to order your copy, go to www.paintingdrawingchannel.com.